If you only look, then you will see on WCN-TV.
Hey, good afternoon. My name's Mike Heath, and I am guest hosting Wisconsin Christian News live stream for a publisher of Wisconsin Christian News Television and Wisconsin Christian Newspaper. And Spencer, go ahead and pull up Wisconsin Christian News. I think it's wisconsinchristiannews.com. Want to mention that as we get the show going here. Also, WCN-TV.net, WCN-TV.net, just doing a quick advertisement. Rob's not able to be hosting the show because he is busy taking care of family matters, but he is excited about getting back into the host chair as soon as his situation permits. In the meantime, he's publishing his newspaper, Wisconsin Christian News. The entire archive is available to you. That's the wonderful thing about the internet, right? A lot of downside to it, especially if you don't like being censored by Facebook and Twitter. But the upside to it is an organization like Wisconsin Christian News, going back 20 years, they've published newspapers. They were able to take their electronic files and put them up online. And so if you go to that website, you can get yourself a login and access all of their great information. Be inspired, be informed, learn, educate yourself about your faith at wisconsinchristiannews.com. And then WCN-TV gives you audio and video if that's your learning style. You can go there. It's a platform that is going to be there tomorrow, the next day, next year, 10 years from now. YouTube, Google, Facebook, these wicked tech giants cannot do anything to get between you and the content at WCN-TV.net or WisconsinChristianNews.com. So check it out if you haven't already. Become a part of the team, so that we can spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, build something that's good, true, and beautiful while God has us here in this earth. You're going to want to share this show link with friends and let them know to watch it. Watch the archive, share the link after the show's over, because we have a very fascinating guest to talk with today. His name is David Sumrall, and many decades ago, he got involved with this whole hate enterprise, this whole hate thing. I mean, my goodness, can you think of a 4-letter word that is less that's more popular than the word hate? And it seems like the left wing of politics, the global left, the progressive left, has managed to steal that word and fill it with their meaning, just like they've done with the word gay, and then they make up these euphemisms like sexual orientation. I mean, they are masters at perverting words, perverting the English language. They are just, nobody's like the left at that. And the gentleman who's on with us right now is David Sumrall. I want to, before I bring him in, I want to show a brief clip of him with a hero of mine. I'm jealous because he got interviewed by Owen Schroyer. So Spencer, you can bring up that band.video. There you go. We're just going to play a minute or two of this just to give you a flavor of David Sumrall in the InfoWars studio. I want to go there someday. That's like ground zero of saving the Republic in Austin, Texas. That would be Alex Jones's InfoWars studio. I'm jealous of David Sumrall because he's had a chance to visit the studio, be in studio and be interviewed by Owen Schroyer. I've kind of watched Owen mature from a very young man to, he's still a young man, working with Alex Jones, becoming kind of a a protege to Alex. Alex has been at it for 27 years. You probably know that he was the first to be deplatformed in a major way from the entire internet, basically. I mean, he is able to get this video out there and to produce his live show because he has funded his own infrastructure there in Austin, Texas. He can't rely on Google. He can't rely on Facebook. He can't rely on any resources other than his own technical resources and doing his own fundraising and his own running his own business by providing supplements to people. He sells them through InfoWars, and that's how he funds his operation. But he was the first to, back in 2016, to draw the fire of big tech to the point where, like, on the same day, he got deplatformed from everything, like PayPal, like Facebook, YouTube, all of it. And our guest today has been in the studio at InfoWars about a year ago and been interviewed by Owen Shroy. We're going to watch just a little snippet of that, and then we're going to bring him in here on this pre-recorded episode of Wisconsin Christian News live stream. And we're going to talk with him for the rest of the hour about hate and how he's using it, because he's a good guy using the word hate or talking about hate, and he's been doing it since the early 90s. So I'm going to stop talking here and let see what Owen has to say about David and what David has to say to Owen. Spencer, go ahead.
You see the kids getting kicked out of schools for wearing MAGA hats. You see kids on the bus.
They have to take off a
It's
shirt.
horrible. Yeah. What's the point? But
What happened to free speech?
But if it was some socialist dictator, you could wear that and they'd celebrate it.
All right, welcome back to the War Room. I'm now joined in studio by David Sumrall, and I do a lot of things out in public, speaking at city council, having rallies, protests, going to rallies and protests, etc. And I meet so many great people, and it's honestly it's a challenge because I do meet so many great people to even just remember all of them. And there's so many great people that I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have held that business card or kept that contact or something. And so, David, I met you. You came out to city council when Savannah spoke. I guess that was 2 weeks ago now.
Yes.
Time flies.
Yes.
And you started the website stophate.com.
Yes.
And so it was one of those times where I'm sure you told that to me when we were out there, and I heard you, but it didn't really sink into me. And so you sent us some of you got some hats, some T-shirts, right?
Right.
At the website stophate.com.
That's right.
So you sent some of the stuff, and I was like, whoa, where did we get this stuff? And they're like, stophate.com. And I was like, stophate.com? That is $1 million idea. Who's that? And you're like, they were like, David Sumrall, the guy you met. And I was like, oh my gosh, we got to get him in studio. So I'm so glad you came out today.
Well, thank you.
The website is Stop Hate. It's brilliant. Honestly, it's amazing you were able to get that. I'm shocked some leftists hadn't bought that up years ago.
So it's a long story. We had stophate.org before, years ago, when the internet was fresh. And we lost that through transition at one point. And I had to wait for years to get stophate.com. So we've been holding it for quite some time.
So explain this. So you had stophate.org.
Right.
And what was your motive originally? Because you got that years ago. That was before really all of this popped off with the media trying to divide us more than ever.
Yeah. We actually started Stop Hate in the early 90s during the LA riots. And, the general consensus was everyone hated each other.
So that was like,
You can stop that. So we're going to go ahead and pick it up there with the story. Pick up the story there back in the early 90s. Man, that's going way back. That's going way back. But before we do, did you know that hate is in the Bible? You know that? The word hate is in the Bible. I'm going to read you 2 verses where hate is in the Bible. The fear, wait a second. This is from the Gospel of John, the 15th chapter. If the world hates you, know that it has hated me before it hated you. Huh. How about that? So the world hates who? You. And who else? Jesus. So why, Christian, why do you get so butthurt if if the world hates you? Here's another one. The fear of the Lord is hatred of evil. What? Hatred of what? Evil. You know evil exists, Christian? Did you know that? And pride and arrogance and the way of evil and perverted speech I hate. Huh. Who'd have thunk? Who'd have thunk? I thought Christians just don't. I thought we had an allergy to. David, come on in here and explain this to us. I mean, I'm a good Christian. I'm a good New Testament Christian. I'm supposed to love my enemies and love. I mean, hate's not in our vocabulary, man. What are you doing?
Shoot, hate's in my vocabulary, man. I tell you, it's terrible though, isn't it? What kind of world do we live in these days? Listen, Mike, thank you for having me on today. I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you and get to know you more. I look forward to our rendezvous very soon. That's going to be a great time. Great time.
That's right. We're pre-recording this, folks, and David and I are going to be together. Looks like with a million or 10 million, if Alex Jones is right, of our best friends in Washington, D.C., trying to save the Republic, right? We're going to be doing that. As we record this, we're a few days out from the event, but you're watching the show, and as you're watching the show, we are literally in downtown Washington, D.C. Hopefully, we will have just heard Donald Trump speak from the White House. According to reports I'm getting, he's going to speak around 12:30 in the afternoon on Wednesday, January 6th. So, David, yeah, we're so this thing about help me out here. So in the early 90s, what inspired you to start talking about hate?
Well, it's the process of having children. I think we all go through that at some point, most of us. And there's a realization when you start to bring kids into the world that this is what we've created for them to live in. And how is it for their well-being? Is it a hostile environment? You know what I'm saying? So, literally, my wife at the time was pregnant with my son, and we were literally sitting on the couch, watching the LA riots and watching people steal, loot, burn, pillage, Reginald Denny, the whole nine thing, and, we just decided we had to help. What can we do to help? Because the media, of course, had painted the picture that everyone hated each other. It didn't matter what color you were. If you were different than the other guy, you hated each other. And, we just tried to figure out, do you throw money at it? Do you go break up the fight? Do you go put out the fires? None of those work. Once it kicks off, it's on. So we just had to sit it out and watch as, LA burned, and, it was a horrible time. And then we decided that prevention, if we could keep something like that from happening again, that would be worth the effort, So, in 1992, we started with just the word "Stop Hate." Then we came up with the little acronym that was really, I think, the meaning all tied together is start turning off prejudice, heal attitudes through education. And I mean, literally, we have to start somewhere. It's a turning. We have to change the way we think. It is about prejudging people. So the prejudice is huge, but healing attitudes, I think we're hearing more and more about that, especially recently, because it's what we need. And people are realizing that it is an attitude issue. And we do fix that with education and awareness. It's not that we have to focus on every single thing that we dislike or disagree about. We don't have to do that. We can talk about things that we have in common, like family and work and struggle. And it keeps it real, and I think people appreciate that much more than just coming at each other with these, polarized views.
So, David, I'm thinking back to the early 90s, and the specific what were some of the names in that specific incident that was in California?
Right, it was California, LA, and it was what was the guy's name? Why can't we all get along? That got beat up in the first place? Rodney King. Okay. And then you remember the white guy that was driving his 18-wheeler through and got blocked, and they pulled him out of the truck and hit him in the head with a brick. That was Reginald Denny. So, since then, of course, Rodney King had come back and said, why can't we all just get along? he understood, more, I think, than a lot of people do still today. But unfortunately, he passed away and was not an advocate for it. Of course, we know there were issues with substance and all these different things.
So David, let me ask you this.
Mhm.
S- if- Do you think that what happened back then, was motivated or inspired by this left-wing Marxist, communist color revolution tactic?
Sure,
That,
sure,
but
no doubt.
but do you think that the difference between then, this is the early '90s, and
hmm
now,
hmm
because we're in another color revolution now. We're in a
Yeah.
similar moment, only it's a lot more serious now. But
hmm hmm
it seems so. Am I right in assuming that that what happened there is they tried to politicize what happened with Rodney King and the white
Sure,
guy? They
sure,
tried.
and sure.
They
Well,
tried,
they did.
but they failed, didn't they? Because I remember the whole race issue just sort of kind of calming down for
Yeah.
decades. And it was
Yes.
and it wasn't until actually it wasn't until this we're recording the show, folks, on December 31st, 2020.
hmm
It wasn't until this year that the race issue erupted again like it did then in the night. And I can't remember that there's been a similar sort of eruption since then. Right? Am I
Well,
um,
there have, and smaller, of course, in scale, but in Greenville, Texas, they had a couple of church fires. They had, I want to say, 38 different fires in Greenville in a month or two. That was in the later 90s. Um, that was a race issue. We had the KKK had come to Greenville. The Nation of Islam had come to Greenville. Everybody wanted to come get their 5 minutes in the spotlight. The media produced a feeding frenzy. They wouldn't leave, and every time they would stay, something else would happen. It was just one of those things that. But we see this; it is intentional. And it's kind of like Hillary said. Was it her that said, "Don't let a crisis go to waste" or something like that? But
one of her
literally, that's what they do. That's what they do. So we saw the Jesse Smollett thing. We
yeah,
see the Covington boys. We see the way they treat Kavanaugh, and that's really what spurred me into, you know, getting out of the middle. For the longest time, Mike, to be honest, I tried to be the peacemaker and say, look, I want Democrats and I want Republicans to come together and hug and all. It's just not realistic at this point to have that happen that way. So, and I tried to play Switzerland. I rode the middle. I wouldn't call anybody out. I didn't want to be the finger pointing organization that said that's hate. Because hey, man, everybody does things. I don't want people pointing at me either. It's not about judgment. Everybody knows John 3:16, but they forget 17. They think the whole book stops right there. And we're not here to judge or condemn you. We're here to save you. And man,
mhm,
it's hard to save somebody when you're screaming at them like that.
yeah,
And now literally we're at a point in society to where for the left to trust us and because of what they've built up in their mind through the media, they hate us so bad. It's literally going to take us pulling them out of a fire physically and saving their life for them to say, oh my gosh, you really do care, because we do, and it's, I think the difference is how you use your hate. There's a season for everything, Mike. Love
mhm,
and war and hate. I mean, this is real. So we're not saying that hate's bad or illegal or anything. We want people to use it wisely. You talked a minute ago about a 4-letter word, and it's hilarious because that's the way that's one of the worst 4-letter words. We forget about love. It's so overused,
mhm,
but another 4-letter word now is left.
mhm.
Anybody on the left is almost synonymous. It's the same thing as we get so much from them. And
Mhm.
I don't understand how, and nobody does, how we can go for 4 years, put up, or 8 years, and we didn't burn cities down, we didn't riot, we didn't, destroy our own homes.
You're talking about Obama, right? Barack
That's
Obama for
it.
8 years.
That's it. And yet we want to go and peacefully protest in DC, and we've got the mayor up there shutting down restaurants. There will be no cell service. That the transportation will be jacked up. They're talking about blocking roads. They want to make it impossible for us to come in there and have our day. And it's just peaceful. We're not there to tear anything up. We clean up behind ourselves.
Right,
It's
but
crazy.
they've convinced. It's like they've convinced a majority of the nation now to think
Mhm.
of itself as white, and
Yeah.
I don't think of myself as white, even though I have white skin. I've never. My parents didn't raise me that way. Uh,
Mhm.
I think I assess other people regardless of their ethnicity or their skin color. I try to assess them. I was trained to by my parents to
Mhm.
assess them based on character, based on
That's
are
right.
they honest, are they hardworking, do they pay their bills on time, are they uh, are they a good neighbor, are they decent to whatever the character
And
kinds.
and that's a great concept, but the left does not believe us. They do not believe our honesty in the fact that we're not trying to prejudge you because they prejudge us. So they can't understand, and here we are doing the same thing that I tell people don't do. We're othering people. We're putting all in one category. And that's part of the thing, the division. You can't be united when you're divided like that. And here we other people and put them in another group so we can dehumanize them just enough to say, okay, they're not like me. So they're totally different. I don't have to look at them like I look at people that I respect. They're a different breed altogether. They're on the left, they're on the right, whatever it is. That's what we've got to get past. But Mike, I tell you, it is programming. It always has been. That's what we have to overcome because it's amazing. I do these rallies all over the country and I have for the last couple of years. I've been organizing the ones in Austin, Texas for the last 6, 7, 8 weeks, however long we've been having rallies down there. And I was headed back to the truck after one of the rallies and well, actually just to get a drink and go back. But a lady was standing there. She had a couple of Biden signs and she saw all my stop hate stuff, and like you said, you can't tell left or right, people, it really throws them. And so she immediately said, or I told her, I said, hey, how you doing today? She said, great. And I said, it's a beautiful day. I'm so glad to see you out here because I am. I mean, it's free speech. That's freedom. I don't care which side you're on. Do your thing. And she said, thank you. It's a beautiful day. I'm so excited and ready for Biden and all this stuff. And I just let her go. I'm not going to fight with her. It's not my place. Well, then one of the trucks drove by from the parade. I had the Trump flags all over it, honked the horn. And she said, look at those racists. Look at those racists. And I took it in and I kept talking to her. And she said, are you going to park here? I said, no. I said, we're not leaving. I said, so I said, listen, we've had a nice little chat for a couple minutes and I don't want to mislead you, but I'm one of those Trump supporters. And she froze dead in her tracks, Mike. She stopped and she got this look on her face and she started crying. And she said, what? I said, yes, ma'am. I'm one of those Trump supporters. And she said, that totally blows my whole narrative. Are you serious right now? I said, I'm against hate from anybody to anybody. That's the bottom line. And I gave her a couple t-shirts and stuff and said, come around here and let's, I'd like to continue this conversation with you at another, all that stuff. And she was literally just crying. The guy that was with me stood back in awe the whole time because anybody else would jump and say, hey, screw you. Hey, get away from me. Whatever. They just want to fight. But that's programming too. That's what we have to overcome. It's conversational. We've got to be conversational and be human.
Well, I feel, David, like we've reached a point where we've entered into a kind of gray area between war and peace. We're not in a kinetic war. You're not facing that woman with a gun in your hand, and you're not under orders from the civilization. As a citizen, you're not under orders to kill the enemy, but that's the next step.
Right. Yes.
That's the next step. And David, we are seeing that from the left. I mean, that's what they pulled the trigger on kinetic warfare this year for the first time in my lifetime. The Democrats, the Democratic Party officially, in the words of Biden and Harris and all, and I mean, we're talking top level Democrats supporting the defunding of police, the riot in our cities, the burning down of police stations, the destruction of private property, and now, of course, the stealing, the literal stealing of an election. This is full on kinetic warfare being waged on the United States of America by the left, not by the right. Now, they justify this by saying that the right, the whites, have all the power. You see, they've manipulated the society for 300-400 years in such a way that they've accumulated so much power that in order for us to overcome it, we're justified to go kinetic, even though they haven't. We're justified to start burning and looting and defunding law enforcement so that we can take their power away from them. What do you say to that argument? Because there's a lot of good Christian people who are buying into that Marxist, socialist argument.
Well, I think that I think Andrew Breitbart got it right. You know, I think war is exactly where we are. There's a difference, and I think that unfortunately the Democratic Party has taken good notes from China. You know, China has declared a war without limits on us. It's open. They said that out loud. War without limit, and we see the results of that war without limits. Now, if you consider that there is partnership between that party and the Chinese, the left, and then it's the same tactics. It's just, they're working together. I mean, this is a global thing. And, you know, I hate to be the crazy guy, and I don't like to talk out loud to people that don't understand, because they do look at you like the crazy guy. But this is not red versus blue. This is totally not red versus blue. This is good versus evil, God versus the devil. If you don't believe that there's a Satan, something's wrong. You know what I'm saying? Here's the thing. If you believe that there's a God, then you believe there's a Satan, then can't there be Satanists? Can't there be a religion of that? Now, if there is, wouldn't it be based on power and things that we wouldn't understand because we're wholesome and kind?
Wouldn't it
so
be based,
what happens is we wonder, and we
wouldn't it be based on lies? Wouldn't it be based on lies? Because of course, Satan is the father of lies, right? Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Thank you. So we no, you're fine. You're fine. We can't figure it out. That's the problem, Mike. We can't figure out, why would somebody do that? Well, okay, let's take Joe Biden. Why would Joe Biden sell out his family, sell out his friends, sell out his country? Is it for money? No, it can't be. Now, money may be a byproduct that's temporary for them here in this world or on this plane, whatever you want to say. But guys, this is, you know, Monsters Inc. Negative, positive, the energy, the kids, the trafficking. And I'm sorry, but it's so all tied together. And Trump has exposed this and turned the light on. And all we're seeing now is the roaches run, you know, and it's beautiful to watch someone on our side using that long game. Because listen, this has been going for 100 years or more against us as a nation for control of the world. It's a world domination thing. We're just players. We're a little part in it. And it's amazing. This whole Corona thing, you know, it's amazing.
Yeah. And we've kind of earned the backlash, I think, to some extent from the rest of the world, because the United States was formed to be a constitutional republic that respected the borders and rights of other nations. I mean, when we were formed by that revolution in 1776, we broke from England, and one of the things that the folks who started the country were insistent upon is that we discipline ourselves not to get embroiled in the conflicts between other nations. We were thinking then mostly of Europe,
right?
But we were also avoiding conflicts with the pirates in North Africa, and of course, we were much less powerful then, but we were designed not to be an empire, and we became an empire after World War II, and we did it willfully. We knew what we were doing, and so for the last 50, 60, 70 years, we have operated on the planet as an empire. And that's that's the difference with Donald Trump. I know that he is not interested in being the president of a global empire. He's interested in being the president of a constitutional republic, which makes deals like a businessman would, and that's what he is. He's a businessman that makes deals with other nations, just like he as a businessman made deals with other businesses. And David,
Sure.
we have seen such amazing results from his business approach in the short 4 years that he's been
Yes.
president. It brings me to the point of
America first.
to think about how successful he's been, even with China. His foreign policy toward the Chinese Communist Party was starting to reduce that totalitarian control, that totalitarian side of the Chinese Communist Party in their own nation. Donald Trump's foreign policy started to do that, and now look at what we're facing.
Well, and let's break it down so that people have a clear understanding. Chinese people is not the same as Chinese leaders.
That's right.
American people are not the same as American leaders. So what's happened to us as a people is we've been duped into fighting each other, when we should be mad at the people on the Hill. And that's what we're going to do next Wednesday. We're going to go get mad at the people on the Hill. So what I try to stress to people is, the hardest period of American history was the Civil War, killing each other, killing ourselves, killing our families and our brothers and our neighbors. And none of us survived that. None of us experienced that. So we really have to read about it. We have to see through the books. And that was the darkest time. It's not a place I want to go back to. I don't want to kill somebody just because they don't agree with me. I don't want to kill somebody just because they hate me. Sure, I'd rather work it out, but don't mistake our kindness for weakness, because there is a point where enough is enough, and we'll get out the tar and feathers and we'll paint you. And that's just the way it goes, because there is, and listen, Mike, the church, it's the church's fault, brother. And I'm the church. I'm the church. You're the church.
And I'm going to interrupt. I'm going to interrupt you there, and we're going to take a break for a couple minutes. And when we come back for the second half hour of Wisconsin Christian News live stream today on Wednesday, January 6th, 2021, we're going to talk about the church and Christianity as it relates to hate, and how do we move in a direction of love. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned.
At the McClario firm, it all starts with family. We're here to serve you and your family, online or in person. Call today for a free consultation. The McClario firm, your law firm for life.
Are you a parent, mentor, or youth leader searching for meaningful books to engage your middle and high schoolers? Look no further. The books in the Off the Itinerary series by author M. Liz Boyle are receiving outstanding reviews for their compelling plots and strong Christian themes. Avalanche, Chased, and soon-to-be-released Ablaze are available on Amazon and at most bookstores. Check out mlizboyle.com for discussion guides to accompany each book. Start.
Pornography is a destructive force. It destroys individuals, families, and fuels the out-of-control demand for sex trafficking. 45% of Christian families say porn is a problem in their home, but why aren't churches and public schools talking about this? Fear. People who view porn think they're the only one. It's a lie. Statistically, more people view porn than who do not and struggle in silence. www.lynnfrederick.com. You can find the book I wrote about my own battle with porn and the presentations that I do for churches and public schools. lynnfrederick.com.
The fear of the Lord is hatred of evil. Hate's a real thing, and it's sometimes called for when you're a Christian. If you're a Christian, you're supposed to hate evil. Spencer, your microphone's on. Pride and arrogance and the way of evil and perverted speech I hate. I love that one, David. The way of evil and perverted speech I hate. And isn't that kind of your main point, it seems to me,
It is.
of your Stop Hate campaign? It seems like your main point is, look, we're Americans. We've got a First Amendment. It's unique in the world. It's lasted 200 something years. And what it means is that when it comes to politics, you have a special protection under our Constitution. But it's not a protection. It was never intended, David, to be a protection of perverted speech. No. Right? We Americans, we Christians are called by God, not just by the government. God's above government. We're called by God to hate perverted speech. Perverted speech. We're not supposed to hate political speech. So, okay, so you support homosexuality and you've made it a political issue and you want to campaign for that. David, I don't think that you're probably like me. You're not against a person being able to organize and campaign for homosexual rights or for anything else. I mean, what about pornography rights? I mean, I think pornography should be banned. It should be illegal. But where would I draw the line with political speech? I feel like if somebody wants to argue that some forms of, you know what I mean? It's a difficult area, but I think yeah, we can agree that perverted speech is something that we're supposed to hate. Why? Because that's what the Bible says.
That's right. And you know, it's like when Paul said, "Don't use foul language." It doesn't say cussing is illegal. It says it's not becoming. We shouldn't do that. It does bad things to our witness. It does bad things to our mind. It does bad things to our attitude. And, everything has been stolen. That's what the devil does: steal, kill, and destroy. And it's our words. It's the meaning of our words. It's tolerance. It's stop hate. It's all these things that have been, bastardized. They've been changed in such a way that they are not the true meaning of what it is. I mean, all these different groups, and I'm not pointing out specifics, but let's just say a lot of these groups focus so much on their own victimization, their own form of hate, that they make that seem more important than anyone else's. The hate that I suffer is worse than the hate that you suffer. I'm trying to categorize the level of how much worse it is for me, so you'll look at me more than, and that's,
it's kind of like everybody's got to think of themselves in the first place as a victim, right? In order to succeed in life, you've got to begin by thinking of yourself as a victim.
Well, and that's where we get back to the church and how, we've fallen prey to that as much as anyone. We've tried the tolerance thing. We've tried to listen. We've turned the other cheek forever, and we've slept through the good parts, and the whole thing that I look at is that this is war. Ephesians 6:12, it's a spiritual battle. Why are people not prepared for the battle? Why is there no field training? Why is there no manual? Why is there, we're told to put on the armor, but hey, I'll grab the helmet or the shield, but I'm not going to carry all that stuff around all the time. I'm going to be lazy. I'm going to be lethargic. I'm going to sleep. I'm going to be entertained and fed. I'm going to go on Sunday so I can get full or whatever and hope that lasts till the next Sunday, because I'm not going to crack a Bible. I'm not going to pray. I'm not going to do things at home. I'm certainly not going to be active in my community. I'm not going to a school board meeting or a city council meeting. Are you kidding? And miss Netflix? So people are lazy, and it's going to cost them. And the thing with the church, we've been given a very unique opportunity in this country, in America, to vote things into existence, we can create the country that we want. You know, there's no reason that we can't vote. Look, let's take murder, for instance. Are you going to murder anybody, Mike? Do you have any intention of ever murdering anybody?
Never. I'll never murder anybody. And even if
Well,
even if I became a soldier, right? I'm not murdering. If I'm
no,
a soldier, I'm acting under orders, and
that's right.
I'm
That's
killing.
right.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm not
let's just take murder off the books then. We don't need that law, do we? Because I'm not going to murder anybody, and you're not going to murder anybody. We're not killers. So what do we need that law for? But see, somebody might, somebody will, somebody would. So we need these laws. And people don't understand when we have an opportunity to vote about abortion and we don't. So the only reason we're in the situation we're in is because of us. So it's a responsibility issue that we have dropped the ball on as a church, as people. And that's what we have to take back. And that's what we keep talking about, the voting and stuff, holding people accountable. But we are so far behind the ball, and people really need to start helping and get active and get in the streets. We'll see what happens.
You know what I'm sick to death of, David? I got it instantly and intuitively, and that is Donald Trump's original tweet that went viral in early 2016, where he came up with a pet name insult for Jeb Bush. I can't remember what it was, but he's done that. I mean, Sleepy Joe, right? That's his pet name for Joe Biden. And he just has a knack for coming up with this really pithy insult that captures an aspect, a quality of a person's character or a persona, and then he uses it in his tweets and to brilliant effect. And when I saw him do that, I just felt to the marrow of my bones like this guy. The only thing I knew about him at that time was I knew he fired people on TV, and I knew he was a billionaire. Other than that, I didn't, know. The left started tweaking him for his sexual stuff and 3 marriages and all that. But I just set that stuff aside right from the beginning. Yeah, it's a weakness and mistakes, whatever. But the fact that this guy was stepping up and demonstrating not only a willingness to campaign for president, but a willingness to campaign for president in such a way that he went after his enemies, his political enemies. He went after them. He was aggressive, and he was. It had the feeling. His tweets had a feeling of just genuineness and ferocity and manliness, and that. And he hasn't let me down in that way. But here's my question for you: why are Christians such? Why don't they get it? Why don't they see what I see, what I saw, and what I still see in the man, Donald Trump? It's like their biggest complaint is, oh, his tweets. Oh, he's mean. And my feeling from the beginning about that is, of course he is. If anything, he's not mean enough. I mean, look what's being done to your nation.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Am I something, David, or what? What's going on here?
No, and I get that a lot. I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people do not understand his tactic. They don't understand the art of war. We use that term a lot. People don't have any clue what it means if they don't know what it means, but it is an art, and it is war, and he is very studied in that, and he's very good at that. There's not many people that can play the game like he does. I was talking to a guy, and I'm not going to get personal, but he said, if he could just stop once in a while, if he could just stop, he doesn't have to insult everybody. He just doesn't have to. And I said, yes, he does. And they looked at me like, what do you mean? Yes, he does. I said, listen, this is a game. Whether you like it or not, it's a game. It's a war. It's a battle. Somebody's going to win. Somebody's going to lose. How do you play the game? I play to win. Donald Trump is playing to win. He's got to draw the bad guys out. He's got to identify which side people are on, because they're not waving flags and banners to tell you. We're having to figure out who the good guys and who the bad guys are. It's really funny because we see some of these things that are happening that everybody says, well, I don't understand. But if you'll just wait a couple days and understand that was intentional, they didn't correct it because they wanted the left to take it and say, well, look, they didn't do anything about that. It's
And
great.
David, you know who he learned it from?
Me. No, no,
Jesus.
no, no.
Jesus Christ. He learned it from Jesus Christ. Think about it. Jesus Christ, he
Yes.
only lived for 30, little over 30 years on earth.
Yeah.
And why was his life cut short? Because he went after the political and especially the religious leadership. And
But Mike,
he insulted them, and he caused everyone to have to make a choice,
he
right?
did.
And that's what
He-
Trump's doing. He's
Well,
caused
but people don't understand, Christians, we don't want to get involved in politics, church and state. What about all that separation stuff, And then you say, well, let me ask you a question. Why was John the Baptist beheaded?
there you go.
And they say, well, because Jesus. No, come on, study it. Why was John the Baptist? Why did he get his head cut off? Because he called out the politicians.
That's right. He and not only that, David, but he ran after Herod. He left his little spiritual work there, baptizing people in the Jordan, and he ran up onto the road and he said to Herod, he said,
Yeah.
"You stop sleeping with that woman, man. You stop.
Mhm.
You stop.
That's
you
exactly.
Stop, you stop doing
And-
sexual." Boy, if that doesn't apply today, huh?
And what happened? The girl got him in trouble. The girl said, "Bring me his head." I mean, that's the moral of the story. So, political activism, and that's the thing we were talking about earlier about America, about us having this opportunity to build the kingdom the way we want to, with our right to vote, about our moral fiber, whatever you want to call all that. And we don't. And we don't care what's in the school curriculum. We think that school choice is a way to solve our education problem, when it's the same subject, it's the same curriculum, it's just a different place. I don't understand how you can still put your kids in that system and feel like it's going to do you any good no matter where. So more topics, more stuff.
Yeah, right. Well, my
It's
opinion
everywhere.
Right. My opinion on education is that we should just get the government out of it entirely, completely, just completely.
Period.
Close the department.
Well, we can make a
Yeah.
make a good list real quick of things that we need to get rid of, and that's one of them. I mean, the school system, the way it's set up, is not to benefit the child at all, and we know that. There's so many things that have been intentionally done this way to, cripple us as a society. And I said we're the church, and I blame the church and all that, but it really is going to take the church stepping back up. Take, for instance, the foster care system, the CPS issues, the child trafficking. When they took that away from the church and put it into institutions, that's where your corruption. I mean, I'm not saying the churches are perfect, but good grief, we had a pretty good grip. The way we used to take care of people and do all that, that's our ministry. That's what we're called to do. And now we just go to get our refill and get our latte at the coffee shop while we listen to our church talk about pretty things. It's not realistic.
No, it's not. It's not gritty enough. It's not there. It doesn't. Christianity no longer corresponds to reality.
That's right.
Especially as our constitutional republic was designed to work, because
Mhm.
it was designed to work without the government being huge, without the government doing everything. Our
That's right.
government, our government by design is inefficient, and what's happened is power-hungry people have gotten into power, and they have abused that inefficiency. It's become totally corrupt, top to bottom, and now that's infected the church, because the church in America is a corporation, and so it answers to the government. The church has submitted itself to the government. That's what, and Donald Trump has spoken to that issue, hasn't he, David? In
Yes.
One of his first acts as president was to attack and issue an executive order regarding the 501c3 status with the
That's right.
IRS, which is a status that preachers and pastors and boards of churches use as an excuse not to stop abortion, not to confront sodomy, not to deal with the real issues of poverty in their communities. They hide behind the 501c3 status, and they say, "Oh, we can't be." They hide behind that and a perversion of the First Amendment, which the First Amendment was designed to restrain the federal government only. You know this, David, probably, but state governments under our constitutional republic are allowed to declare a religion, a denomination. They took it for granted back then that Christianity would be the religion, but they left it open to the states to establish a state church, a state Christian denomination. For example, Connecticut was Congregationalist, and then Maryland was Catholic, and etc.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Virginia was an Anglican, and
Well, it comes down to the fact that we've had choices and we have not chosen wisely. And now there's repercussions to that. And we really have to, take this opportunity. And, it's funny. I don't know about prophetic or whatever. It's debatable at this point, but I've tweeted out last September that to save America, we must get back to the basics, get back to God, get back together. United we stand. And we've really been forced out of the bars, out of the sports, out of the places, out of the hangouts, back to the house, back to the basics, right? We've been forced to acknowledge God, although not always willingly, but we have. And now we've got to figure out how to get back together. And that's this whole, pandemic of control over us that we're trying to break the chain. So, that's the only way we're going to make it, folks. We've got to learn to get past the differences and work toward the things that actually matter to our kids. Leave us out of the picture, leave us out of the conversation, because we're done. And I think what we leave behind is important.
I think, David, one of the simplest actions we can take, I think that the time for words is long past.
It is.
I don't think anybody's listening to just words anymore. I think that people are instinctively getting to the point now, partly because of desperation, because we're in our second lockdown, headed into our third, and Fauci and company, Gates, are promising lockdowns forever, vaccine forever, lockdowns forever, face diapers forever. That's what they're promising. I mean, seriously, there are people who are believing their lies. They're saying, on the one hand, you're going to be masking and you're going to be distancing and you're going to be locked down into 2022. But if you'll do that, then you'll be able to take the mask off. Then you'll be able to, we'll move into the new normal. And people still aren't ferocious enough about understanding reset, what they mean by the new normal, what they mean by building back better. What they mean by all these terms is communism by definition, pretty much. If you look at it, if you dig down into the UN papers, 2021 agenda, whatever it was, and 2030 agenda and all these, it's communism. It's global. That's right. It's global communism. That's the new normal. That's the Great Reset. That's the building back better.
It really is. Socialism, communism. That's what they want.
Wake up, right? Wake up. You're choosing communism. People still don't get that, David.
Well, it scares me, brother. It scares me because, hey, if they're going to sit back in their house and watch all this happen, what are they going to do when they literally come up and ask you, are you a Christian? Are you going to stand for your God? Where's your faith? When it comes down to the real trying times, if people aren't willing to show up at their state capitol and rally, or they're not willing to make a trip somewhere, they're not willing to even go out and talk to their neighbor, we've got big problems. We just try to encourage people to be active.
David, if they're afraid to watch this video for fear of the NSA or whatever, the national, finding out because they know that their Facebook feed is being monitored, or the Google their Google data set is being monitored, their Gmail is being monitored. So they're going to find out about, they're going to get this link from a grandchild or from a child, and they're going to go, they're filled with fear. They're going to think, this video, they're saying things that are counter to the narrative that I just saw on NBC News or CNN, and they run in fear, and they put on their face diaper and hide. Oh man, I mean, I loathe to think that the boomer generation is is that way, but I'm afraid it is. And we have got
In a lot of ways.
we have got to change. Your grandchildren's future is literally at stake. I mean, your children's opportunity to work for a living, because part of the Great Reset, David, is this universal basic income, UBI. That means that everybody gets this $1,200 check per month automatically delivered without any real accountability. It's just a universal basic income, and you'll get it. And that's normal. That's the new normal. And the vaccine, which is going to include, the next version of the vaccine is going to include that quantum dot technology, which Gates has already admitted he's going to do, which means constant monitoring 24/7 of both your physical person and your digital person.
But that's the war. That's the war. You know, I was listening to a guy the other day say, you know, what's the big deal with a chip? You know, we're all going to get chipped eventually. I mean, he said, what's the point? I mean, they already know where you are. They got your cell phone. They got your house, everything. They got the car. They already know where you are. What's the big deal? Like, wow, see, that's programming. That's programming, brother. When you don't even care, that they're going to mark you. I mean, come on, let's be real. So it's about awareness and education, you know, and unfortunately, brother, the Bible says that my people die from lack of knowledge. And as much as we want to educate people and help them, the first part of that says they die. So I'm sorry, and I'll educate as many people as I can and help as much as I can to be the light. But brother, it's going to be some bad times for a lot of people because they just can't get their heart right, you know.
We're talking with David Sumrall. He's the leader of StopHate.com. StopHate.com. Go ahead and pull that website up, please, Spencer. And anything you want to tell the viewers about your website real quick?
Yeah, it's just a work in progress, man. I'm not a computer guy. I've got a couple of guys that help me do that stuff, and we try to keep, you know, some current content, do a couple of interviews and stuff here and there. It's mainly just a resource page to see some of the events we do and stuff. We're trying to grow it up a little bit more. I've just in the last couple of years tried to go a little more national, and we really have. But you know, like I said, it's nothing anybody real supports. It's more of a hobby, something we do out of our pockets. So we appreciate any support anybody would like to lend us, but we don't really ask for it a whole lot. But either way.
Okay, great. So we're moving toward the end of the show. We've been talking to David Sumrall and looking at his website, StopHate.com. Be sure to check that out. Support his work to encourage him to do even more on a national level. He's got an important message, StopHate.com. And we're going to wrap up on kind of a funny note here with a short video by JP. He's one of my new favorite comedians. And go ahead, Spencer.
As the clock winds down, that concludes the first quarter, and the game is over. The Left Wing Warriors are your new champions with a final score of 21-14.
What a hard-fought victory by the Left Wing Warriors, your new champions over the disgraceful right-wing colluders.
Look at this footage of millions of people around the world celebrating the Left Wing Warriors' big win. They are your new champions.
And here with us now is championship-winning quarterback Dan McDaniels. Dan, congratulations on the victory. How does it feel?
Thank you. But are you guys sure we won? The refs are telling us we still have to play.
No, don't pay attention to them. That's just inconsequential formality. Congrats on the big win.
Okay. It was a hell of a game, but you know, we came out as the clear victors.
Now we can see that the colluders are refusing to leave the field, truly an embarrassment to the sport. Can you share your thoughts with us on this?
Hey, we won, okay? I mean, those guys were on top for a while, but if the colluders don't just accept defeat, this isn't going to look good for their legacy.
They're truly trashy humans. Congratulations on the win and being the new champions.
Hey, thanks, guys. I'm going to Disney World. Are they open? No? All right.
As glorious of a day as this is for the sport of football, isn't it just embarrassing how the colluders are behaving?
It is. And as everyone at home can see by the score that we are clearly broadcasting, the colluders have lost. but now they're refusing to leave the field and accept defeat.
They're not only being sore losers, but what they're doing is crazy, dangerous, and seems like terrorist activity.
Now, it might be beneath us to even go here, but we've got Coluder quarterback Josh McJosherson on for a post-game interview. McJosherson, why will you not admit defeat? What are you doing?
What? Because the game's not over. We still have 3 quarters left to play. I don't know what's going on here. What's going on is you lost. The Warriors have won. The game is over. No, it's not. The rules are you play 4 quarters of football and then the winners decide.
You have lost and everyone knows it. Will you vacate the field and concede defeat to the Warriors?
No, why would I do that? Something strange is going on here. Like, we came back from timeout and then all of a sudden they had 10 more points on the board. Isn't it obvious that— Cut him off, cut him off. In our good conscience, we can't let that kind of misinformation be broadcast.
The Warriors have won because we said they did. A truly inspiring story because we say it is.
And it looks like the world of social media is getting in on the celebration and congratulating the Warriors on their big championship win.
And because you now know that the Warriors are champions, you can't not believe it because you know that everyone else knows, and for you not to know would make you know that you're crazy.
Clearly. Oh, and there's the owner of the Warriors who was helping out today running the scoreboard. And that does it, America. The left-wing Warriors win the championship game with a final score of 28-14.
They are unquestionably your new champions.
And now—
All right, check them out on YouTube. That's JP's channel, and there's lots of content.
Worth it, man. That's so funny.
So David Sumrall, thanks for being on Wisconsin Christian News live stream. Really appreciate your time and your work. God bless you.
Listen, I appreciate you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
All right, Spencer, we're done.